Now you can hear me of how one should play his or her cards. Yeah, I just realized on my recording software it wasn't going. Should be able to hear me now. So welcome back. It feels good to have some green candles. So what we'll do is we'll start off with some Bitcoin analysis, maybe a little bit of Ethereum analysis, and then I'll start taking questions. Typically, the questions. The priority of it goes the channel members or super chats first, and then I usually get most of the questions, not always though, but that is the priority in which I'll do it. So let's not wait any longer, and let's get in. Now that you can hear me, let's dive into some Bitcoin analysis here. All right. I'm going to go down to the 1 hour chart and simply use the 3 EMAs that I've been talking about primarily for the last, I don't know, week and a half or so. And really the two main ones, kind of like my YouTube video from yesterday, is the white and the purple. So this is the monthly 10, which is a big deal, and I think Bitcoin wants to race up to it. And the support is the weekly 89, which is also in line with the monthly big EMA, which is the monthly 21. So if I were to put on the monthly 21, it would be, I mean, literally right here too. But if you put on the weekly 21, the weekly is also right here. So the thing is, volatility could continue to stay in this range for a while because there is double support here. There's, double resistance here, double heavy resistance, because different types of traders are seeing, different types of things there. Depending on what time frame they're dealing with, what time frames their algorithms are based off of, and same down here, there's extra support because there are 2 different large time frame EMAs at the same exact place. And but in the summary of my analysis from yesterday on YouTube, and I promise you this should be seen as really helpful, is the idea that the weekly 10. I'm going to take off price for a second so we can see monthly 10, weekly 89. Weekly 10. So this is the monthly one. The weekly 10 right now is near the middle of this range. You use that to your advantage because when you zoom in to really small time frames, which we'll do here in a second, like let's even go down to the 5-minute chart. You can see that even during all of this activity, even during all this activity, after it got above it, it used it as support once, support twice, support a third time, failed it. When it got back above, it didn't use it as specifically as resistance, but that's called a failure. So let me zoom way into that part. When it gets above and it failed it, you had a lower low fake out and then your big move up. And after this type of play, this little flag area where you make a series of lower lows before your pump, that started becoming more and more common after traditional. I've looked it back. I've kind of tracked it. It started in 2019. This type of stuff became more common in 2019. Lower low before a pump after the traditional markets, hooked up their algos to Bitcoin essentially, and so now going down is almost indistinguishable before a big move up, because it's their trading desks that are moving Bitcoin price. It's not retail people. It's not individual whales. Unless individuals whales sell, I guess that can move price pretty well. But this is all like $100 million trading desks doing this type of stuff, right? For the most part, moving the general price of Bitcoin. That's what that was. But if you zoom in, using this as the point of control, which was my point, once it came back down, you can see how almost perfectly this was used as support. And because of this, you could have had, this would have been a good, and this is when I was giving my Discord community like heads up, hey, I think that now's a pretty good time to, I gave suggestions on what I was going to be long on, and I gave reports on that, what I was entering and what levels, and I was waiting for Bitcoin to come down to this level specifically. I was waiting for bounces, and when that happened, all the coins were, going down to similar levels. And so zooming into this, using it as this point of control, or the weekly 10, which when you zoom out is in the middle, this was the clue that the top of the range is now going to be hit. And so this is almost like in a game, a cheat code right now. Will this move up with time? Sure, and it won't be in the point of control. But for that day, it was your Bitcoin cheat code. Yeah, you could literally tell with an extreme high probability which way it's going to go. And the cool thing is, your probabilities could have flipped very, very easily, and I could have easily got out. So had Bitcoin done something like this, used it as resistance, then I instantly know when my probabilities flip. Had it done that, and then I obviously would have gotten out of my long positions and or already have been stopped out. And that's what we have going on for Bitcoin. I mean, my target is, I think it's going to have trouble getting above the monthly 10. However, there could be, if I had to take a couple guesses, I would say something to the effect of, you could either, even though Bitcoin doesn't move like this as much anymore, but one way it could get above is it could consolidate just under it, have a pump, and then consolidate on top. Let me make this a little bit thicker here. And again, this is on top of the monthly 10. This is the big resistance, right? And if we zoom out, we can clearly see that this is literally what is blocking Bitcoin this entire time. Look. 69K top. Battle for the monthly 10. Battle for the monthly 10. Fell below it. Rejection, rejection, rejection. This got rejected by the weekly 10, now coming back up to it. This is what, and so this has been the battle line back since before Christmas, since December. It was the battle line trying not to lose it, and now it's trying to get back above it, right? And there are lots of ways that Bitcoin could react. I mean, it could really just be the same thing. This could be a little bull trap, but if it's going to get above, that would be one way. Another way it could get above is if this just keeps rocking and rolling and goes a little too far above, then has a nice big correction, and then starts landing on top of it in a more bullish case, and therefore I would have to extend this so you can see it. Something to that effect. That would be another way. But because Bitcoin's already getting some fairly strong moves here, I wouldn't suspect a move straight up to 46K would be it. Because of this, I would expect consolidation under it, or on this monthly 10, just barely get above it and kind of wiggle around it on a few daily closures, something to that effect, before it moves up. That's the bullish case. And again, I'm not making any guesses how it's going to react to this. However, statistically, I think it is more probable it will end up failing it, even though this was a straight-up rejection, that's a straight-up rejection, this was kind of a failure. So something to this effect, I think it's more statistically probable that something to that effect will happen, because, I mean, that's what's been happening, and it's logical that it's more likely that what's been happening will continue being happening, or that makes a lot of sense, will continue happening. Something like that could so on a more bearish case, you could have it get above and just roll over, never use it as support. And the thing is, you'll be able to see it. Look, if you dive down into, let's say, even the 1 hour, back where it rolled over, and you zoom in, and so here's another cheat code for you. Watch this. This is the 1 hour candle. Let me even go to the 15-minute candle. Go to that same place. The last time it got above the monthly 10. Watch. Okay, this is the first time. Did it ever use it as support? Look at that candle. Did it use it as support? Here, it made a higher low below it. It did not use that line. Zoom in. It did not use that line as support. When it came down, didn't use it as support. It just came up and used it as resistance. It wasn't used, and look, and when it got below it, and you can tell, this is big trading desk algos. Look, I mean, just drop it straight below that line. It's not a coincidence that this large candle happens around that line. It's very common that that kind of thing happens around the weekly 10 or the monthly 10, something to that effect, but it didn't use it as support. It did not use it as support here either. It had tried to use one candle, but then it just came right below it and used it as resistance. I wouldn't count one candle bounce as support. You could maybe make that argument on the 15, but if you go to the 1 hour scale, I don't think you'll see any support whatsoever. So that will be, yes, yeah, on the 1 hour, look, it just goes straight below it. Straight below it. And so that will, as it gets up there, that is going to be your new Bitcoin cheat code. Zoom in on the 15-minute time frame or something to that effect, assuming it gets up there to the monthly 10, in which you can use the MTF EMA, and you can observe how Bitcoin is behaving around it. Is it able to get above it and use it as support or not? Or is it getting above it? And as it, is it using it as support in some way, or is it getting above it And when it comes back below, goes like this and this on both sides. That is not using it as support. And that would drastically, so if I extend the monthly 10, that this type of action right here would drastically increase the chances that Bitcoin's going to fail again, get rejected by it. And so that would be your new cheat code. But right now, really, the 3 EMAs that you need to have on, something I just cannot stress enough, is weekly 89, weekly 10, and monthly 10. That's really all that matters. That's all that's mattered since this whole calendar year, pretty much. Because this is going back to early January. This is where it fell below, January 5th. That's where this is when the battle for the monthly 10 EMA was lost. See how long the bulls were trying to keep it above this white line? This was the battle line. So it's honestly, it's been the battle line since December of last year. It's been a lot of months. And right now it's the battle of the bulls trying to get back above. And the bulls lost the last battle, but this battle, I don't know. It honestly kind of looks like it's... If I had to make a guess, or let me make myself big here. I mean, if I had to make a personal guess, and again, what I'm about to say is not TA, right? I'm going to tell you an opinion. All right, so don't throw this back on me. My opinion is, and again, Bitcoin price doesn't care about my opinions, right? That's why we use analysis with probabilities and numbers. My opinion is, although it's more statistically likely to fail here, because that's what it's been doing. But my opinion is, I think the bears are too tired. They've driven Bitcoin price, real hard, and I think the bulls have defended long enough where the bears need to take a break. And you can see that in some tools that I use on the Discord community, things like seeing shorts and long positions. I mean, short positions just closed out, which is part of this Bitcoin move up, because when shorts close, that you are literally, essentially buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin price goes up, a whole bunch of shorts have closed. In the big millions and millions of dollars of positions, right? Particularly on Bitfinex. And so it just looks like the bulls are tired. And with that initial momentum of big money shorts closing, because the bulls are tired, that gets a little pump up, and then people, I think it can keep snowballing, and we could get a price movement. I mean, this could hit 52K. That's not my opinion, though, but my opinion is I think the bears are tired, and I think Bitcoin will get above this white line to some degree, and I think it will use it as support, unlike all the other 3 times this whole calendar year. However, my opinion is not statistically probable yet. I want to be very clear with what I'm saying. However, people like to know what I'm thinking, even though it's not my analysis, and that is what, I don't know, that I have that opinion for some weird reason. It just looks like the bears are tired. So let's take a quick look at Ethereum, because the weird thing about this is Bitcoin is ahead of Ethereum right now. A lot of times Bitcoin falls below, but if we take off everything, almost a bare naked chart, only the weekly 10, Bitcoin closed the weekly candle above the weekly 10, which is what I was stressing to my Discord community. And again, for the Discord community, there are links to it in the description section if y'all want to check that out. And if you could take a quick moment to give me a quick thumbs up here to help out the algo, I would greatly appreciate it as well. So Bitcoin closed above the weekly 10 EMA. I need to take a sip of coffees. Move to Ethereum. Ethereum did not. Is that a huge deal? No, but it simply means right now it's not necessarily good for altcoins if Bitcoin is outperforming stuff on a weekly EMA basis, which means I would not start getting excited about an altcoin season. This looks like this is going to be a very Bitcoin-led rally, at least for now, which typically after a long drawn-out phase, Bitcoin and 1 or 2 other leaders right now, isn't Luna almost hitting $100 again? Just freaking crazy. Nope, it's at 93. Anyway, Bitcoin and 1 or 2 others typically lead, and it looks like this is going to be a Bitcoin-led one, which means if you're hearing out there a whole bunch of things about altcoin season, what are you buying, and all this stuff, it's probably not the best advice, because something that I also cannot stress enough is the equivalent literally the same thing as saying buy the dip. That's during bullish trends. The equivalent to that, okay? So not like the opposite, but the same thing. When it's a bearish trend, which we're in a bearish trend essentially, is sell the rally. It means the same thing as buy the dip. When you get a rally, you start selling. Just like during a bull market and you get a dip, you buy. It is the same thing. It is not the opposite. So just remember that, because you might be hearing a lot of, oh, back up 70K altcoin season, and what's going to be the next 1000X coin? Just because Bitcoin's moving a few $1,000 here, you're going to start seeing all those videos. The next 100X coin. I know most of you probably don't believe that crap anyway, but I hope not anyway. But just a heads up, I don't think that that's what's happening. And I think the highest that this would get up to, an analysis I saw off of, I can't remember, it was actually like a news channel. I really liked his line, and no one else on YouTube is drawing this, but I liked what he did here. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Where was it? Was it this guy? Yeah, I think he was using the daily. For some reason, was it this one? Or was it this? Give me a quick second here. Nope, it was definitely the other one. Because it goes through both of those. He must have been on the 4-hour chart. Probably makes more sense on the 4-hour. Right there. That's one interesting line where this could go up to. And this would be near the obvious, very clear next, point to pass. In terms of local highs, it would be right around that point, which is between 49K and 52. And that was the time where he had the fake out during Christmas. That's going to be a pretty big battle line. Bitcoin could honestly scream right up there. It almost looks like it has enough momentum to ignore this local high and that local high, get above the monthly 10, and then start battling this very, very strong horizontal up here. I would say that would be... you can make... There are a lot of other arguments, obviously. Other areas, where 46 and 47 could be, seen as some pretty big points, like right here. The bottoms of these, if, future or past support equals future resistance. So this box right here, it was support here and support there. Therefore, this could be a lot of resistance here, which is also what it was in line with the monthly 10 here. So you could say this rally might not go higher than 47K, but if I can say an opinion, not technical analysis, because it's not statistically likely, because you don't even have higher local highs yet, right? So what I'm about to say is not analysis, it's an opinion. I simply feel the bears are tired enough, and they're not going to step back in until Bitcoin hits that box, essentially. And I think it's going to take it up to about 48K, is my opinion. That is not a technical analysis. That is not a call. Don't be, spending your money because of my opinion. I want to be very clear. And then that's really any downside. So the threat to the downside, same type of deal. Just throw on those 3 EMAs that I've been talking about in all my videos. This is all you need. If you see Bitcoin go back below, even for a second, below the weekly 10, it's probably going to go at least halfway down to that purple line. So it'll probably hit 39.40 somewhere in that area. It likely won't just, come all the way down and then kind of recover. No. If it goes below this red line, which is the weekly 10, it's probably going to come. It'll probably hit 39 and change. If not, touch, all the way down to the bottom of the range here. And so I think Bitcoin's safe, even on a, how big of a correction that'd be, 5%? Yeah, even a 5% correction coming down to continue using this as support, that would help it build up power. Okay, something like this, it actually might be healthier for a 5% move down, build up power in a base so that when it does approach that monthly 10, it has a better fighting chance to get above. That would actually be healthier. But sometimes when Bitcoin just starts moving, I think you all know it gets really crazy. All right, I will start looking at some. I'll start looking at. If you have any questions, I will I will go ahead and start looking at that. So somebody's asking about BPro. I will take a look at BPro because that's how my YouTube. Oh shit. My YouTube adventure accidentally started. Trying to get some friends on Facebook into crypto right during February because I told them this is the time to buy altcoins. I don't know if y'all know that story, but I didn't mean to become a YouTuber. There was a video I was trying to teach friends how to use KuCoin and just kind of how to scout for altcoins, and it was too big to upload to Facebook Messenger or whatever, and so I had to upload it to YouTube, and I made it public, and then other people watched it, and then that's how it happened. Then they demanded more. All right, BPro, I mean, it's getting above its weekly 10, and this is going to be a common theme throughout all your questions. There are only 2 coins, before yesterday, there were only 2 coins that were above their weekly 10 that I could find outside of Bitcoin. Luna, not even Atom was above it. Luna and was it Near? And obviously there could be exceptions to this, right? But the big players, and I'll get back to BPro here in a second, but just so you know, was it Near? What is it? Near was over it for a bit, and it still is. But anyway, the common theme on anything is that the price of almost everything is either approaching the weekly 10 or just now getting above. So before I get into the analysis, that is what's going to be happening on everything. And it can be essentially like your cheat code if you see it. So zoom in here. Let's go down to the 5-minute chart. Okay. Keep on that weekly 10 EMA. This is a nice big run. Has it built up some form of support base here? It has not. So the higher and higher this goes, the more, likely that it needs to come back down and use this as support before it can continue the run. Could this go a lot higher before it comes back down? Yeah. And if it does go something like to 0.004 or whatever, let's say it does something big like that. If it goes up a little higher, then when it corrects down, it'll go a bit under the weekly 10 and it'll have to battle its way up. So it's actually a little healthier. It would be healthier if it doesn't go too much higher. It would be better if it starts going sideways here. But you can use this essentially as your cheat code. Is this run going to sustain itself as it comes back down? And you will be able to see. Again, I'm on the 5-minute chart. 5-minute candles count. Look over here. This was the battle line, trying to get above the weekly 10. Wick above, couldn't close above. You can tell very clearly that this is the main battle line right now. And so right now it looks healthy. It hasn't used it as a strong support base. You could justify that, but this looks like it wants to get some more. And once you see it turning around, don't worry about it. It just needs to form a base. I guess maybe I shouldn't say don't worry about it, especially if you have money on the line. But what you can interpret any move down is you're not freaking out. Oh, it's a red candle. Oh, it's a red candle. Oh, it's a red candle. No, say to yourself, this is going to touch the weekly 10. Let's see what happens. Is it going to use it as support? Is it going to use it as resistance and go below it? Let's find out. But right now, that is really the only analysis you need on this coin, because it's going to come back down and it's going to hit that weekly 10. It's just a question of how you manage your position within here, where you start taking profits in expectation of figuring out, is it going to use this as support? And I can't give that type of stuff necessarily on YouTube exact levels where I would do that, because this is a community coin, and that's that kind of stuff's for my Discord. It looks really healthy. How high could this go? Let's throw on some other EMAs. Let me see where the weekly 21 is. Weekly 21's way up there. Ooh, this really fell. This could have a pretty big run. I honestly, this looks like it wants to get to 0.0044. This one could go straight up. But it's going to come straight back down to hit that weekly 10. Or it could do something like this and wait on it. Either or. So but it'll very likely come back down to test the 10. But if it really does scream up that high, it might do this. It might wait on the weekly 10 instead. That's a little less common of a way. Usually if you go up really fast, you'll come down real fast to touch it, but it could sit here and ride and wait for it to catch up. Find some type of stability here at, in all of this price action, kind of uses this as support, wait for the weekly 10, spike down and hit it, and get ready for its next move. That would be an unlikely way it would go, but it does look like it's going to hit past 0.004 on this move. This looks like a pretty powerful move. That's BPro for you. And again, cheat code for almost everything right now is the weekly 10. I think Near Protocol was a good, even though no one's asking about Near, Near Protocol is a pretty good example of how coins are getting above their weekly 10, and you can zoom in on them to see how the candles on the small time frames are behaving. All right, so during one of our live chats for VIPs, when Near was doing this, I said, nah, wait for it to come test the 10 before you get in too long. so that ended up being a pretty good suggestion. Good. I'm glad he waited. That was a good entry for that person. Anyway, I have the weekly 21 here and the weekly 10. You can see that it comes at here. Let's even go to the 5-minute chart, and this is what you can expect, because Near Protocol's a little bit more advanced in its journey to using the weekly 10 as support, which is what a lot of altcoins are doing here. Let's start here. Used it as resistance, made a higher low, came up, used it as general support, came up, came straight back down, kind of like BPro might do. Remember I was talking about BPro? Straight back down. Let's zoom way in there. Used it as support, used it as support again, kept its run, came down, used it as support, lower high though. And when you have a lower high, or a series of lower highs, that's when you start saying, hey, this might not use this, and this is kind of another cheat code trick. Once you start getting lower highs, that's your cue of saying, ooh, it has it has an increased probability of breaking through the next time. It did break through, and where did it come straight back up to? Resistance. So that would be a great short opportunity with that candle closing exactly there, that 5-minute candle, right? And then it finally ended up going above. Did one of those I don't know what pattern traders call this, but pennant stuff, but it kept making lower lows before its move. And right now, it just took off, got way above the weekly 10, and what did it have to do? It had to come straight back down and use it as support in general. It actually used it as resistance for a little bit, but it came down, it touched it. It has to respect this line. And now that it's been doing that, it had another big pump, came down to where? To respect that line perfectly. And now that it's put some time, and Near Protocol has respected the weekly 10 enough now. I'm not giving an exact estimate of how far up I think this can go, but among all coins who have so remember the whole cryptosphere right now is in a similar boat with very few exceptions, Luna being one, but they're all battling and they're all interacting with their weekly 10 EMAs. And Near Protocol is one of the ones that's more advanced in that journey of interacting to try to test it out. Am I going to use this as support? Am I not? And so even if you don't care about Near Protocol, it is a good case study. So you can say, hey, if you like BPro, if you like Multivac or whatever, just go to recent price over the last couple weeks, go down to really small candles, keep on that weekly 10 and take a look, because your coin might do that. Like Near Protocol is kind of like a roadmap for it. But the bigger the coin, though, the more you'll get trickier moves where you do this whole lower low, then your pump. That doesn't happen as much on the smaller assets under, let's say, 500 million market cap. But it's still a good. Near Protocol is like a perfect roadmap for that. All right, that was that's Near Protocol. All right, engine. Yeah, I'm in an engine long right now. That was one of my alerts. Actually, I haven't checked my trades this morning. They're pretty up. Yeah, my account's a lot higher than it was yesterday, or my futures specifically. Engine. I entered at 144. I'm not up very much, though. It hasn't moved a lot. Interesting. If it comes back down, I might add to it. All right. I was interested in Engine based off of its lack of volatility. So from a structural standpoint, the reason I liked Engine for a play, and again, I'm not saying right now is a good time to be going in on futures. So please don't interpret what I'm saying. I've already been in on it. I'm already in profit. So, don't interpret anything I'm about to say that reflects you making a decision with your money. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. However, this is what I was saying, and the reason why I decided to enter this coin, even though I think it's my weakest performer. XRP, I already closed out my Luna long, which did really well, and I switched that for near, actually. So that was actually a good play. I did very well this time, and my XRP is the best right now, though. Interesting. But anyway, so this is my weaker performer. However, this is the setup I liked the most, oddly. It's kind of weird how that works, but it's not getting much YouTube love or whatever. But what I'm about to say, check this out. I knew that Bitcoin had just closed a weak candle over the weekly 10 EMA. I liked that this had low volatility. Using a general area of support, when you start seeing coins with very low volatility and they start creeping up, making higher lows, that is perfect, especially when Bitcoin does something new that's bullish, like close a week above the weekly 10. That's your perfect damn setup. I didn't get into the coin until it retested below here. So I was putting orders to catch wicks below this, and that's exactly what I did. And I am only up 12.5% right now on that trade. Because I don't use much leverage. I'm not a person who does like 10x, and I strongly suggest you don't either. I mean, I don't even suggest like 8x. Like some people are out there doing their whole Bybit stuff, because they have a lot of followers, and like 10x and 20x. Like that is not how you do things. I would not ever suggest that or wish that upon anybody. But anyway, so that was the setup on Engine. And the second component to what I liked about it was, even if it got rejected by its weekly 10, which it's way up here, the distance it was away from it, I liked. A 16% move from where I wanted to enter. A lot of other coins had low volatility and a higher low structure, but just in case Bitcoin didn't stay strong, I didn't like their setups as much because their weekly 10 was like here. And I didn't want to take I did take the bet on near though. Near's the only one I liked where I thought it's going to get back above its weekly 10. But I like this because I want it to spike up to the weekly 10 without having an overhead obstacle. And that's what I was thinking about Engine. So it's funny you asked that because that is one of I have five positions open. Yeah. So I think it's going to spike right up. It looks very healthy. And as long as Bitcoin keeps moving, this should get a spike at some time, but it should be very attractive to get to its weekly 10. Which you can use that as a hint on where I would be taking profits. So, but that kind of stuff's for my Discord. I've given kind of strategies on how I would take profits at what level. Should I split up my stuff? And again, if you wanted to check out the Discord community, you got the links to it in the description section of all my videos. But we go into, even as groups, like when somebody here, let me make my Facebook again. So what we do there, talking about Engine Coin and we're in trades is sometimes when Bitcoin's not doing much, we'll just sit there and hunt together. Okay, what is the best setup right now? And we'll talk about, okay, where do we put our stops? How do we split up our profit taking? Things to that effect. I can't go into all that right here, but I did just kind of drop the hint. Weekly 10, it's kind of obvious. That's but the way to get up there, will I take all my profits there, or will I have already taken profit twice, like in thirds on the way there? I'm not going to give all that information here on YouTube. However, just hint, that is my main play. I'm focused on a 16% of move raw price without futures. Up there, that is my goal. Yeah, that's Engine Coin. All right, so let's start looking at some of these questions. short term. We'll take a look at Fantom. Yeah, we will take a look at Fantom. You said the short term outlook. Okay. Short term outlook isn't bad. The weekly 21, which is now flashing, that's the yellow, is right in line with the weekly 10. It's gonna get assuming it gets up there, which it looks like it's going to. It's going to have a lot of problems there. Just if you have two powerful EMAs after a bearish cross, so let's zoom out. Let's go to something like the daily, and let's take off price, and let's put that at. This is an extremely bearish cross. Okay, like this is worse than a death cross. People talk about death crosses all the time, about, you know, the 50 MA going below the 200. No, this is worse. They often happen about together, actually. How can I do that? How can I show you? On the daily, we can go like this. So the death cross happened here. I'll take those off. That's where they crossed. And the weekly, see how close that is? So, I mean, really, they happen. They usually are in conjunction with each other. But, I mean, it's just worse. Like, they're bigger EMAs. They're more powerful. But it's kind of funny how typically when you get a death cross, the tradition, not an EMA death cross, the actual definition, using these simple moving averages. Anyway, the price of Fantom is under this. It is trying to use this area of support right now. So if I put price back on, it's getting back up into this area. It looks like it's doing a good job. It looks like it's building a base, and assuming Bitcoin doesn't ruin the party, it's going to spike right up there. It could wick above to try to rival testing this horizontal made from the most recent local high. It could do something like this. If I can teach myself how to use TradingView better, it could want to go all the way up to 205. I wouldn't put my money on that. That is a very bullish option before it starts slowing down. I would say it's forming a base here. It looks good, really. Honestly, this could take off tomorrow. If you get one daily closure above all this, a daily candle closure above these, the next couple days could race right up to this 10. But that is where I would be taking profits. And it can undo this cross. That does happen. But just know that this asset is not going to be bullish until candles are closing above both of these and the red's back on top. It's that simple. This is in a bear trend. Like, you could obviously use other definitions. Like the daily has a higher local high and a higher local low, so it's in a daily uptrend. Okay, it's in an uptrend. For the daily, but that's all things relative, right? Depending on what you're talking about. In the overall macro sense, in terms of the way you're trading that, as long as the red is below the yellow, trading down is the more profitable way to do it. It's that simple, and that's for everything. Yeah, that's where I would say. So I would say this might want to come right up to $1. So this will keep creeping down. Let me go to a smaller time frame, like the 15-minute. Yeah, it used this as it's using this as support, so it's going to break out of here sometime soon. It looks kind of ready, and it's probably going to do it tomorrow because of these daily candle closures. Let me go back to the daily. It's probably going to want to close just a tiny bit above. So at today's close, you'll be able to zoom in, and you should see. This would be my guess, right? This isn't some statistically probable technical analysis I'm giving you in this exact moment, but my hunch would be this day will close slightly higher than these, and then the next day would either attempt to start getting closer to $1.35 or be the day that breaks out. But I don't see today being the breakout day because it's essentially forming, kind of like a 4-hour range here, and it needs to have a nice daily closure before it'll take off. And then that move could take it straight up. I mean, that'd be a good trade. Up to close to $1.60 would be my first guess. My second guess, so let's say this is my first guess, somewhere $1.60. My second guess would be a wick above the weekly 21. That would be my second guess as most probable. And the third, and this is all assuming Bitcoin doesn't ruin the party. My third guess for the third most probable, for the price movement up before it starts to chill out is about $2.03. But I would definitely say most probable, second most probable, third most probable, using horizontal for the third, a wick above the weekly 21 for the second, and just straight up somewhere around the weekly 10 for the third one, around $1.60, $1.65, something to that effect would be my guess. And to the downside, when do the probabilities flip? Is when you zoom in to something like the 15-minute time frames, and if you start using let's just call it $1.25, that's when your probabilities flip to the downside. So some people call that your invalidation or whatever. I just like to say that's when your probabilities change. It's a lot. I don't know. It makes more sense to me. Like, when do my probabilities change? Like, I'm not gonna name it fancy things. This is when your probabilities change. But until that happens, so even if it comes all the way down, because Bitcoin could have that spill back down to the weekly 10, and it's healthy. That would be healthy. And if that were to happen, that would not be. This would probably come back down to $1.25. But if it goes below, you don't want to see it come up and use it as resistance, which you can see here. When it did go below that support, it got right back above it on its first try. And that's what you would want to see. And again, that number is $1.25. Some people say invalidation points, but that is my probabilities flip line. But specifically, not just going below it, kind of like I did here, but using it as resistance. If it does break below, yeah, your probabilities start getting worse, but I don't think they totally flip. But if price does just go down and it hasn't had a chance to come back up to test it as support, yeah, your probabilities are lower of a breakout to the upside, but they completely flip after $1.25 is both broken and price comes up and uses it as resistance. That's what I got for Fantom on the short-term time frame. Hopefully I gave you what you wanted. Yes, Buddy Johnson, cross bad. Here, let's see it. 5-day chart. Yeah, and we're still below it. We might be in the middle of it. Here, let's see it on Fantom. Fantom hasn't crossed. Here, let me clean this up. You don't have cross bad yet. So maybe I will actually, you know what? I might switch my probabilities. I think going up to the, what did I say? $1.60. I think the second one is the most probable. I bet it gets closer to $1.75 on this move. I think it wants to test into here. I would just flip the first and say, I would still say $1.63. $1.63 is in the middle, so that still might be right. But a wick above the weekly 21 might be the most probable. Yeah, they might be of equal weight going back on that. But yeah, that's cross bad. But on Bitcoin, yes, cross bad. So, take a look at the. Here, let's do a quick. Bitcoin still has this cross bad. It is as simple as that. And you can't, just like in my YouTube video from yesterday, you can't be midterm time frame bullish. It's insanity to see this and know its function and know how Bitcoin reacts to that. Okay, you can't be midterm time frame bullish if you're like sane and have any form of logic. In my opinion, like that's how strong of a signal this is to me. I'm not saying people are stupid or anything. However, that's how powerful this is. It marks the second half of the bear market, or it marks capitulation. That's the only way it's ever done. Could it do something new? Yes. However, you'd be pretty lacking a lot of logic to be midterm time frame bullish until that flips back green. You could go from being bearish, kind of like in my video yesterday. You can go from being bearish to neutral if you get a closure above it, but it's still red. Then you could be more neutral. And when this totally flips, because Bitcoin price gets back up here, then yeah, you can be midterm time frame bullish. But yeah, that's the cross bad. It's still cross bad, and you can see very clearly these 5-day candles are still getting rejected. And that is why I made it very clear in my yesterday's video, like I am midterm time frame bearish for, very, very, very bearish. Like if I could make a vector of how bearish I am, it's almost straight down. I am almost straight up midterm time frame bearish, which is why I was stressing earlier, the equivalent to buying the dip is selling the rally. I promise you, it is the same thing. It even rhymes. I'm kidding, it doesn't rhyme, but just tell yourself it rhymes. That's what that is. All right. So that's a quick Bitcoin cross-bad analysis for you. Okay. People still hold BPro? Yeah. On a personal level, I acquired, so I have a goal of how much I want. When Bitcoin was dipping farther under its master origin line, which I guess I can show you here real fast. Couple ways to show you. I will go to the 8-hour chart. Take that line off. Yeah, when it was dipping in my black triangle, which I've had this black triangle here for months. Remember, even all the way down, I had this black triangle. And you can go to my Twitter feed. I said, price cannot go too deep into this triangle, especially not near here. And look what magically started to happen. This is when your higher lows started to happen. I mean, but it's because it is the master origin line. It is the most, and so without that range, take that off, put on origin lines. This is what created that triangle. I already knew something special was going to happen here. And honestly, I kind of thought it was going to be capitulating already. But regardless, something different, something special is going to happen here. It always does. But I accumulated roughly 25% of the BPro that I want, maybe 30, somewhere around there, when Bitcoin was below this line, especially when it was at the last blue line, the trading channel. Yeah. And when it was down here, I acquired about 25% of the BPro that I want to have in preparation, because I think there is at least a 25%. The way I view it is, I'm not just going to wait for capitulation to buy everything, because there is a solid 25% chance that Bitcoin literally just goes sideways and does something like this for months, right? Months. And that's how it recovers. Altcoins bleed the whole time. You see Fantom getting back down to 93 cents and Cardano down to 45 cents, which is probably where it's going. Just a heads up, Cardano fans, it's going to go lower. Altcoins could bleed for months and months until summer, and then it just off to the races. And therefore, this was an okay time to be getting some BPro. I think there is a decent, or something even more bullish than this could happen. I think there's a 25% chance of something to this effect happening this year, at least about a 25%. And because of that, I chose to, when Bitcoin was specifically dipping down here, hitting that last blue line, and I don't know at which touch, but because I think there's a 25% chance that's it, that's the low, right? I got 25% of the coins I want to hold. On Mover, I got more than I wanted to hold because it kept going lower and lower and lower. It was moving, but in the wrong direction, and I thought, well, this could be a good trade. So I probably have about half of the Mover that I want to accumulate. Because it kept looking like a better and better buy. But outside of that, I have about 25% of what I want across the board at this time. That's a good question. And that's the reason why. Because, if you look back in time, let's go to the daily. Just look. Every time. All right, look. Just a quick, easy Bitcoin analysis. Every single time Bitcoin has been below the most important line in Bitcoin history, I might have to go to the 2-day. So see where this blue line is? Where that's the the trading channel around the master. It is the most. It's inarguably, you can't logically argue against this. It's the most important line in Bitcoin price in history, in all of its history. Could you argue that a non-straight, some other curve, like regression line? Yeah, but straight lines. It's the most important straight line in Bitcoin price history. And if you simply look at it, every time but one has been an amazing time to buy, like a perfect time to buy crypto. Back here in 2015, back here after the 20K top, went down to 6,200 for a long time, and then the same squeeze play we're having now happened and it capitulated, but it capitulated down to this. Great time to buy Bitcoin. When it went below here just before coronavirus, it was a great time. Obviously, coronavirus spilled it and it went significantly lower. This was the only time. So during, the C word here, this is the only time in Bitcoin history where this wasn't an amazing buy. Could that trend continue? Now that it's happened once, the defense is broken, and we should expect another spill below? Possibly. However, simply looking at this, that is why I chose, even if there's a capitulation event and Bitcoin goes down, let's say my top guess is something like 18.8 or 19.3, something like that, enough to get people longing 20K out. I think there's going to be a wick below, but even though I think capitulation is going to happen, simply seeing this most important line here, I have to have some hodl position. I can't be all tethered up, even if I'm convinced there's going to be a capitulation event this year. Simply looking at that, and so one of the best ways to maybe I should be more careful with how I say this. A good way to try to make portfolio changes is specifically based off of what percentage your guess is that something will or won't happen. For example, how much tether, and this is stuff I go over, with tutorials and stuff on my Discord community. And for people just popping in, links to the Discord community within the description section here. But anyway, if you think, so for example, how much tether should I be holding? If you think there is a 90% chance that there's going to be a capitulation event, then that means, in this theory, I'm not giving you a call to action, not financial advice, but in this thinking, you would have 10% of your have 10% of your crypto, like in whatever, outside of futures trade. If you're a trader, day trader, that's not the same. But for from an investment standpoint, or I click around and buy sell maybe 20 times a year, that's more of an investor, maybe swing trader, investor type of standpoint, not day trades. Outside of day traders, in that case, if you think there's a 90% chance, you should have 10% of the crypto that you want, because there's a 10% chance that's it. That's the low, right? And that's what we got for that. Let's see here. Arthur, please. Arthur. All right, ALBT and HTR. Okay, and then I gotta wrap this up. ALBT. This isn't price discovery down. Looks like it's going to pop up to here and then make lower lows. I don't know much about it, obviously something else might happen, but knowing nothing about it, looking at a chart, it might go up as high as 28 cents, but then I think it's going to have price discovery down. Hell, I don't even know if this is a crypto. It says Bitfinex, but yeah, this looks like the founders and the VCs who were in this sold their coins and they're done. So that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, I would not be comfortable even considering this. Personally, sorry for the harsh analysis, but that's my honest opinion of it. All right, let's check out Arthur. Am I doing this wrong? HTR. Brain fart, sorry. So Hather. low, higher low, higher low. That's probably October, so that makes sense. So you can kind of skip this over. Okay. So this asset I've never looked at before, Hathor, HTR ticker. It's from a weekly standpoint, it looks, actually, let me go to the 2-day. It looks like it wants to race right up to that line. It's going to have some trouble at that line, depending on when it gets there. Is the price, because it's an ascending line. So I can't give you one exact price level. However, it'll probably be somewhere around this box, because this was an area of previous support, which will be future resistance, along with recent resistance, which will continue to be resistance. So it's probably going to come up to this line. Assuming Bitcoin doesn't ruin the party, it's going to have a lot of trouble getting past that. It'll probably have to regroup, consolidate for quite a while, make higher lows, maybe even a couple lower lows on the 4-hour. It's going to have to move sideways for a while. That would be my guess, and that'll happen somewhere around 83 cents. This is with the assumption that the bullish case of Bitcoin happens. None of that's going to happen if Bitcoin touches this monthly 10 EMA and turns around. So I need to be extremely clear with this. This is under the assumption that Bitcoin can stay healthy at least for another week or two, which I really think it will. But all right, and that would be where I think this is going, under the assumptions Bitcoin does well. Might have a little. So let's go down to the 4-hour chart, where I would start getting worried about this. Even in the event that, with or without Bitcoin, where I'd start getting worried. Is closing a 4-hour candle below 52. Your probabilities would flip real fast if you had even a 4-hour. Yeah, 4-hour candle below 52 cents would instantly flip your probabilities, where this is probably going to retest the lows. That would be your probabilities flip instantly line on a closure basis. So if a 5-minute candle goes way down here, your probabilities obviously are worse, but they haven't necessarily flipped yet. I would say if you have a candle closure, or just see 5-minute candles, come back up and use this as resistance. So you can use it either way. Candle closure, 4-hour, or using this area as resistance even on 5-minute chart. That would be when your probabilities severely flip to the downside. And that's what we got. But yeah, it looks like it could make a... this could be a big move. That'd be 30%. I think that's where it's going. Yeah, it looks like it's going to hit 79.80 cents. And I typically wouldn't say that with this structure. It looks like it's maybe being a little aggressive, but because of that line, for whatever reason, cryptos are simply they typically get attracted to very important lines to that effect. All right, so let's see here. I already did BPro. I will do car Tessie, and then I have to be done. CTSI. All right, so here we have Cartesi, ticker CTSI. I'm looking at it on Binance. I'm going to start with the daily chart. That actually doesn't look bad. Wow, that had a nice bull run. Whew, did a 50x. Wow. Okay, so it already looks like it's played out at 75% correction twice, 80% correction. But for crypto, that's what you need to do. This doesn't look bad. It's done what it needs to do from a macro standpoint. I'll say one thing about this. If Bitcoin capitulates, this, whatever level, I'll tell you that level here in a second. I know you can't see my chart. It's around 30 cents. It's going to break below that line if Bitcoin capitulates. But the cool thing about this chart is that, not financial advice, any pickups significantly below, 30 cents? In a capitulation event, this asset is going to bounce like straight back up to that line. Maybe get rejected by it, and have to settle itself out, sort itself out around that line for a while. But if it goes way below that line in a Bitcoin capitulation event, it's going to go right back up. Like the volatility is going to go boom, boom. Just keep that in mind if you like that asset. And if you're on the side of, I think capitulation, could easily happen, keep that in mind. This is and it's coming in right at 30 cents. Okay, right 29, 30, whatever. Maybe call it around 30. That's one thing to note. Where's the weekly 10? It looks like it's getting ready to... So, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, everything and its cousin, with the exception of Near Protocol, Luna, and I guess now Bitcoin, which this is a Bitcoin-led rally, thank goodness, instead of an altcoin-led rally, but pretty much everything is getting ready to interact with its weekly 10 coming from below. Therefore, the most likely thing is that it's likely going to come up and start playing around with this somewhere around 41, 42 cents. How it gets there, it looks like it needs another higher low before it gets there, but this is a nice, strong daily candle. Let me look at the week. It might do it this week. Let me look at the 4 hour. It looks like, you got higher lows on the 4 hour, so it can get there pretty easily. Yeah, so that's a nice higher low structure. That's healthy. So it could do something like this. Usually the way you do it on higher lows is you get your one big pump, like on the third one, 24th. Yeah, it might take 2 more days to get there, but it looks like it's going to hit 42 to 43 cents. And then it's going to, could it go way higher? I mean, if Bitcoin starts pumping to 50K, yeah, but this is where it's headed before it's likely going to need to calm down. It looks like it's going to be headed straight there. Let's put on the weekly 21 as well. Yeah, so you already have that cross. So red below yellow means, your best trades are to the downside. However, doing counter trend trades, which is something I really actually like to do. Those are your shorter trades, and I get my community to do that sometimes. Simply do some counter trend trades, but this would be a counter trend trade because the trend is down, right? This is following almost exactly what everything is doing in crypto. It's the most common play. A lot of things will be, you'll see a lot of things breaking a trend line like this. Something you're going to see on YouTube, a bunch of YouTubers doing. Oh, it broke out, it's going to be awesome. Well, no, you have the weekly 10 here. Sorry, man. This is where it's going. This is not going to be some mega, it's going to be a bull run, I'm not making, even though I am a fan of Litecoin, but I see a lot of Litecoin people like, this is a 5-year-old triangle, it's getting, no, it's not. This is not meaning it's going to $3,200, or whatever but you're going to see this line in addition to a lot of, people being super bullish and trying to convince you to probably buy coins they already own on YouTube. Which I didn't. I did disclose that I do hold some BPro right now, so I did say that. But yeah, it's just going straight to the weekly 10, just like everything. What it does there is where the analysis will get fun, because what I would suggest then, and I got to wrap up after this, is you will even be able to go down to the 5-minute, 15-minute, whatever, and you're going to see how price interacts with it. So don't make any guesses yet if it's going to go way above, or even get there. Actually, I would make the guess that it will get there. But once it gets there, don't have expectations. Just enter. Assuming it gets there, right? With Bitcoin being strong, if this is for anything, so not just for CTSI, this asset here. This is for everything, because most things are doing what this is doing, right? And that's why I had Near Protocol as the perfect example. This is what a lot of coins are going to end up doing, right? Because it's farther ahead. So this is one that's this is on par or a little bit behind the average, but everything's doing this. When it gets there, don't have expectations of what it's going to do. Rather, study how the candles are interacting with it, and don't take your eye off the ball, which is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is your primary indicator. Okay? So this is also a good case study, this example, because a lot of coins are in this exact position. Has a downtrend. Am I doing this the right way? Has a downtrend. A lot of YouTubers say, oh, it's going to be a big breakout. No. You have these weekly EMAs. That's where it's going. This isn't going to be a massive breakout. Do not have huge expectations as it gets there. Simply study how it behaves. Is it being used as support or resistance? And then go along your way. And that's pretty much how everything in crypto is pretty much doing right now. And that's it. I got to wrap up this live stream. Sorry I forgot to give the announcement out for like the heads up and stuff. I forgot to pre-record. I had a couple of issues last week. I apologize. But every Tuesday and Thursday at 10:30 a.m. New York time. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here, everybody.